It's live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the FAT2Fit show, episode 2. I'm the coach, and that there is Chris Eastman. And I think we titled this show, The Struggle is Real is so appropriate. Tell everybody what just happened, why we're 40 minutes late going live, which actually we don't commit to a time, but just a perfect icing on the cake for the week that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go live. $1,800 brand new laptop and the screen just decided to crash. It's completely blown up.
Yeah, it is. That is one of those things that just enough to drive you crazy for one, but I got to give Chris props because he is a can-do guy and a stand-up guy, and he honors his commitments. And we just went into what can we do? How can we make it happen? And thanks to his wife, we made it happen in a different location, but that's okay.
Yes, we stole her Apple MacBook computer, and so I've never.
Well, that'll work. That'll be good. They got a good camera. So before this happened, I decided we were going to call it The Struggle is Real. I'll do a quick show intro. Welcome to the FAT2Fit show, the podcast that documents one man's journey from morbid obesity to optimum health. I'm your host, Coach Matt O'Brien, and I'm joined by Chris, who I already introduced, who's bravely decided to take control of his health. And over this next year, we're going to document this journey, and our mission is to motivate and inspire some of you listeners that may be struggling. We're going to talk about the struggle this week with their weight by showing that it's possible to overcome any obstacle, including a laptop that's crashing. So just let you know, this does not constitute medical advice. Anyone attempting to lose weight should consult with their doctor first to ensure their diet and exercise routine is safe and appropriate for their individual needs. So come along to us on this journey from Fat to Fit. Episode 2. Let's talk about it. This was a rough week for you, and a lot of times on social media, we always see these pretty pictures of perfect lives, and Chris has got a hot date tonight with his beautiful wife.
Yes.
And we're not going to ruin that, so we're going to make sure he gets on his way. But tell everybody kind of about the week that you had, and not even talking about working out yet. I know it's been a rough week, and maybe you can share with everybody what's some of the things that happened.
Business is tough, right? It's not for the faint of heart, right? There's a lot of ups, a lot of downs. People don't want to hear about the downs, but you lose work, you fired on jobs, you lose revenue, key employees leave. Obviously always at the most opportune time. So it's it's part of business, and it's part of having that mental fortitude to be able to keep pushing through. And I coach business people all the time. This is when you really can show, like, if you can make it or not, right? Business is easy until you get punched in the mouth, right? I don't know if that's a Mike Tyson. I kind of like stole that a little bit there and made it my own. But it's to make a business. It's not always easy, right? Self-employed is different. So it comes with struggles, good and bad. It's been a tough week, man. Tough week. Business.
Yeah. So. And in the past, because I know a lot of people, not just my clients, but in general, struggle with emotional eating, and that can be triggered by a stressful event or a disappointment or a laptop crashing, for sure. Tire going flat. Has that affected you in the past?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was the guy that was when he gets stressed out and he gets depressed. I would hide out in a McDonald's parking lot with a couple of Big Macs and some French fries, and I would hide out, and that's just how I was all the time.
And do you feel like you got some temporary relief from that?
I've been good, man. I've been doing really well, man.
I've been saying in those scenarios in the past, because a lot of people, myself included, we medicate with food. We treat our emotions and our struggles with feel-good stuff. I'm just curious, did it make you feel good in the short term, like deal with the stress?
That first bite of that Big Mac, man, it's just like all the things, right? It makes you feel good, makes my beard get excited, everything gets happy. And then about 15 minutes after you're finished, all the regret comes in. You're like, oh my God, what did I just do? Why did I eat that? All the bad. The temporary pleasure of the eating never actually goes long term, right? I honestly beat myself up typically afterwards. So
yeah, most people do. We got the big guilt, not only the carb coma, we get the guilt crash afterwards. But just for everybody's benefit and Chris's too, like that's a classic example of what we call the dopamine dilemma. That first bite, it's kind of like that first year in your marriage when you're in the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
It releases dopamine, and then 3, 4, 5 bites into that Big Mac, or 2, 3, 4 years into your marriage, like that rush that we feel, that excitement that we feel isn't there. And if we're not aware of it, we're big on awareness, we're going to chase the next thing, the next Big Mac or the next relationship, and go marriage to marriage or job to job, city to city. The grass is always greener. So we're going to do a episode. There's a great book that Chris saw me reading in the sauna called The Dopamine Dilemma, and we'll talk about that downstream. But I just wanted you to share that because I know you did share that with me. But you had definitely some business challenges that would crush most people. And yet, to Chris's credit, to your credit, Chris, you were sticking with the plan. And besides the business stuff, tell why I called this struggles real had nothing to do with that. Like, kind of share what your body's kind of going through in this transition of activity increase. And, there's going to be some bumps and bruises along the way, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So we're doing cardio every other day, and a little bit of cardio on the weightlifting days. And so my cardio of choice is the elliptical machine. I feel like it's easy on my knees, and I'm a big dude, so running's never been my thing. So we're grinding out on the elliptical, doing the things, and all of a sudden, over the last weekend, I started getting really extreme pain in my calf and the bottom of my foot, thinking, I don't know if it's my Achilles, what did I do? The typical dude, go on YouTube and watch all the things and research all this stuff. And it's like, I don't know if I have to amputate my foot or what's going to happen next. But, I believe we've kind of narrowed it down to plantar fasciitis. And so it's very painful. If anybody's ever dealt with plantar fasciitis, it's been very, very painful. But been doing a lot of stretching, a lot of ice, a lot of Theragun, and haven't missed a day. Still going, still grinding. Got big goals, but it's been painful. It's been a painful week.
Yeah. What's your mindset been? Because, most people have a lot of clients and friends and family members even that can get derailed with, I won't say a hangnail, but basically sort of the equivalent, where a little setback, a minor injury, and we have this kind of prevailing mentality that, oh, I need to just stop. How did you kind of overcome that mindset, or have you always overcome that mindset?
I mean, I wouldn't be this size if I did, if I didn't always, or if I didn't fall to it too, you know what I mean? So, for me personally, I'm very motivated, man. I'm not young, I'm not 20 years old anymore. I know where I want to go. And I feel like God's been very clear to me of like, this is my chance, this is my time. And so I'm very motivated. A lot of people have come to me this week and like, why are you pushing yourself so hard? Take some time off, rest, take it easy, all the things, right? And, I think you have to listen to your body. If you got to rest, you need to rest. But I think showing up sometimes is a win all by itself, and so show up, do what you can. And for me personally, I've just had I've gotten a lot, Matt, out of the time we spent together. And I yearn now. I look forward to getting up and going and embracing the suck every day and sweating it out and going through the motions, and I'm enjoying it. So it pushed past the pain,
Absolutely. And it's a good pain. Like Chris said, we're not saying injure yourself, but there's a lot of injuries that won't get worse. They'll actually get better.
Yeah.
Because movement creates circulation. Circulation moves the healing stuff in and the bad, dead tissue out to facilitate faster healing. So it's kind of counterintuitive. Oh, I'm hurt, I need to rest. And there are some injuries. Absolutely, you need to put your feet up and sit back. But I always say when there's a will, there's a way. And actually, one of the pieces of equipment we bought for our bricks and mortar here at Triumph in Largo is a ski erg, which is upper body. And it was because for this one period of time, about 6 months, I had like clients going down like flies with bunion surgery of all things.
Onion?
Like 3 in a row. And part of that process, they put a pin in your toe and they put a boot on your leg. And then you go around in one of those scooter things where you have your legs propped up.
Wow.
So I was like, we need a solution for this, because of the people that have the mindset to press on, I want something that they can do. And they could. We would just put them in a chair. It's all upper body, and they're still able to get their warm up done. So I'm always a believer that when there's a will, there's a way. We can work around things. And Chris, you're already demonstrating that mindset. So we haven't even talked about it. So props to you.
Thank you.
For your business skills, because I know you've done a lot of business and mindset mastery type training that's going to translate well to your goal on this journey. So props to that. Talk a little bit about, how we kind of stepped up the intensity this week a little bit. And that's like what we call progression. And, everybody, I think, was warning you, don't get hurt when we started. And, we started baby steps with 20 minutes and progressed to 25, and now you're up to 30. And then same with the weights. We started really light, really slow, really smooth. And now we're kind of stepping it up. And maybe you can share a little bit about your past training experience. You're not completely a rookie at this.
No.
So I'm factoring that into, the training part of this. So talk to everybody about, that intensity increase, or if you noticed it, or maybe you didn't.
Yeah, I think the approach with this time, Matt, for us was really good, man. It was there's all these fears and all these animosity of just getting back into the gym and doing this stuff, right? Am I going to pull a muscle? Am I going to hurt myself? Like, I've done it before. I've hurt myself before by going too hard. I have an addictive personality. So this time, I think you forcefully have made me slow down and do it on a much slower pace, which sometimes I'm not okay with that. I want to push through, but I feel like it's been a good progression. The HIIT training kind of sucked this week, but I'm looking forward to doing some more of that.
And it sucked for me too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more of that, catch my breathing up a little bit. But yeah, it's been good, man. It's been good.
Yeah, awesome. I know in the past, like you shared to me a while ago, Chris and I have been friends for a long time, and I love him like family. But I remember you had a major setback at I won't name the type of gym, but it's kind of stereotyped for this, where you got hurt and the community kind of abandoned you and kind of kicked you to the curb in a way. So that memory probably lingers on, and maybe you can share some of the emotions that you felt at that time when you got kind of kicked out almost from the pack.
I was, it was we won't say the name of the gym, but I was getting made fun of for being hurt, and made fun of for not trying hard enough, and then you pushing through things that I should have never have done. I should have just stopped, and end up hurting my back really, really bad. And then it was just, I was that guy, there was the complainer guy, or just that, whatever you want to label me. And then everybody stopped talking to me, and then we just kind of fell off. It was a really weird experience. Nobody checked in on me to see how I was doing. It was just a weird, I don't know. It's just a weird time. So.
Yeah. And I know that, is in your memory, because trauma, and that was a form of trauma, and a lot of people have lots of former trauma in their lives. I had a consult yesterday, and those of you that have dealt with any kind of traumatic experience, whether it was abuse as a child, or parents that possibly abandoned you, or worse, there's a great book by Paul Conti called Trauma, and it just the best book to walk you through that experience and really help you shape your perception going forward. And I've seen it done some pretty miraculous things in people's lives. So to the client that I met with yesterday, to her credit, like I recommended it, and I've recommended it to 4 people recently that really needed it. Like I felt like, I don't want to say they needed it. I felt like it would be really helpful. And, but like, it's important to understand, like, if you want the cherry on top, you got to do the work. You got to put in the effort. And to her credit, like, she bought it on Audible. She's already 6 chapters in. She's already getting a lot. She's like, wow, it really opened my mind to my relationship with my mother. And so those of you that are dealing with stuff in the past, which is most people, I strongly recommend that book, Trauma, just one word, Trauma, by Paul Conti. And it'll do you some favors. So hopefully that'll be a takeaway for somebody. Chris and I are doing this as a God thing, and we hope to serve others. So maybe somebody that watches this any point in the future get something out of that. But I want to jump into your weigh-in because we're documenting, weekly. We may go to a point where we don't weigh in every week, and we want to create a cadence. Once you establish a pattern, a trend of fat loss versus muscle gain or muscle maintain, then we could probably slide into every other week. It doesn't need to be obsessive, but right now we're trying to get to the point where we're establishing trends. And what was your reaction? Share with everybody, what your results were, and if it had just been the number on the scale, how it would have made you feel.
My mindset is starting to change, right? So I'm used to dropping 10, 15 pounds a week for the first 3-4 weeks of losing weight. And I'm taking it for granted that it just comes off easy and it's water weight or whatever. Made all the things up, whatever those stories I've created in my head about it. And so I've been going hard, been eating good. I've been working out like a mofo, been doing all the things, and stepped on the scale. This week we're down overall 5 pounds. So the scale's down 5 pounds. Only 5 pounds. I mean, not a ton, but my muscle mass was up 7 pounds. So I don't know what that equates to in Matt O'Brien's gym math, but that's my weight is down 5 pounds, muscle mass up 7 pounds. So
yeah, it's an important thing to understand, because if you're just going by the scale, especially for people that have been athletes in the past or worked out in the past. Chris was a former Division I athlete, worked out with weights in the past. So there is this thing called muscle memory you probably heard about. It's actual science backed. So you can put on your muscle at a greater rate, than it took to get it in the first place. So wherever you have gotten to in the past, you're going to get back to that point a lot faster. So Chris's body, even though we're going really light and really slow, now a little bit, he got a little taste of weights today.
I did.
I got it on video, baby. I can't wait to share. Chris struggling. Oh, that was my other thought of the struggle is real.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for being
hard. And it was probably humbling, when you failed at 7 reps. But it's just important to understand for everybody's benefit, like, don't just go by a scale. You got to understand body composition, and some of the cheapy scales you can buy for $20, those aren't going to really give you all the facts that you need. So be patient through the process. So Chris is excitingly, gaining muscle fast, and you shared with me, like you saw on your InBody report, what that did to your metabolism. I think that's the last thing I want to cover other than your blood work. And then we'll get to Chris's questions. Favorite part of the show. We turn the tables. But tell everybody whatever I just asked you.
I was going to say, man, I was going to piggyback that is I've had lots of people talking to me about this video, your video stuff that you've been posting all over my social media. So I'm getting tagged by everybody. You put it on LinkedIn, by the way, too. So I've been getting all stuff. I don't know about the vulnerability on LinkedIn yet. So thank you for doing that. That's good. But I've talked to a lot of people about that InBody, man. That thing is awesome. If you watch this video and you don't see any value in these things, at least reach out to Matt and get yourself an InBody session. That thing is awesome. It gives you so much more insight into your body than just the stupid scale. And I've always lived on this stupid scale. So
well, I know what I asked you about what'd you notice about your metabolism? You gain that muscle, and the InBody reveals your basal metabolic rate based on algorithms of
Mm-hmm.
body composition. So what'd you notice?
It was weird, right? I'm losing fat and losing weight, but my basal metabolic rate went up 200 calories. So it said I slept on the couch and didn't move, I could burn 200 more calories just sleeping. And I was like, that's really cool. It's really awesome.
Yeah, and that's what I call the right way to lose weight. And I think I even have that URL in GoDaddy, but the right way to lose weight. Mm-hmm. And this is what was very important for everybody to understand is like, and why strength training is so important. And I'm going to be in an argument with a doctor friend of mine on this topic, because when you do weight loss, you've got to do the strength training, because that's what at least preserves your metabolism. Otherwise, you lose weight, you lose muscle, and your metabolism would have went down by 200 calories. And you get to your goal weight, whatever that is, if you're able to get there. And then you go back to eating basically normal calories. Now your metabolism is 20, 30% slower. And the calories that used to not gain weight very fast before, now you gain weight really fast. So the opposite is true. When you build muscle, it allows you to eat more when you get to your goal weight and have a pretty sustainable lifestyle. So that's why we do it the way we do it.
I think it's a big part of what happened to me, Matt. I had the weight loss surgery. I lost 200 pounds, and I wasn't eating like I used to. I didn't gain 100 pounds back by eating like I used to. It blew my mind that I would gain weight so easily. But I feel like it's because of what you just said. My metabolism had to have just died, because I was eating nowhere near. I wasn't eating the Big Macs and the French fries. And I mean, I was eating waffle fries from Chick-fil-A. Jesus' French fries. Those are different.
Everybody likes the waffle fries at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, those are different calories. Those are blessed calories. A little bit different. But I gained weight so fast. And it was just like, man, I can see it for sure. So,
yeah. But that's why I say we're, being patient through the process. You're on track, and because of your previous athletic experience, you're going to gain muscle faster than somebody that had never worked out in the past. Mm-hmm. So that's an advantage, and that's why everybody's different in the process. Mm-hmm. And we just have to recognize that and be patient. For those that haven't worked out in the past, it's going to be a slower process, but that's okay. Last thing I want to talk about is where you almost passed out yesterday because you were watching a lot of blood flow out of your body.
Yes.
Tell everybody, and this is part of a good functional health coach and a good functional health doctor should do blood work. And let's talk about that for a minute. What happened yesterday that, you almost passed out?
Yeah. So I haven't had blood work done in 5 years. So part of your coaching was go get your blood work done. We need to see what's going on in the inside of underneath the car. So got an awesome doctor recommended by you. She's doing all the things. So yesterday was my get some blood drawn day. Well, she didn't tell me, and you didn't tell me in advance that it was going to be a truckload of blood. So it was like, she pulls out this tray of like 14 vials, and I was like, I don't know what we're doing with all that. And then she just kept going and going and going. And so, yeah, I got really lightheaded, and I had to sit in the parking lot in the car for almost half an hour just so I could drive away. Got pretty lightheaded.
Yeah. Well, the fact that she pulled 14 vials tells me, without even knowing what those vials are for, that she knows what she's doing. Unfortunately, those of you watching, and if you're a doctor, I'm sorry to offend you, but you got to get with the times. A lot of medical doctors are in, we call medicine 2.0, and we are in 3.0. The evidence is there. And some of the tests, this is a big takeaway for you watching. This is a little added benefit. Things that you need to look like your doctor should be ordering at least once a year that they often don't. It's ApoB, and that's going to help with your cardiovascular risk profile. Fasting insulin, which I rarely see a doctor order, is going to reveal metabolic syndrome or pre-diabetes way 10 years plus faster than A1C or fasting blood sugar, for reasons I'll talk about on another episode. Uric acid, definitely want to understand that. Your cardiovascular, your triglycerides, HDL, LDL, all that stuff. She probably pulled like a full hormone panel, total testosterone, free testosterone, DHT, sex hormone binding globulin, and DHEA. She probably did a thyroid panel to include reverse T3. That's the one doctors miss. And like sex hormone binding globulin, that binds to your total testosterone. What's left is your free, and that's what actually does the magic in the body. Reverse T3 is kind of like that for thyroid. If your thyroid's normal, but your reverse T3 is high, your thyroid function is going to be low. So if they don't measure that, they don't know that. They say, oh, your thyroid's normal. So a good hormone doc's going to know this stuff. And she probably did a metabolic panel for your kidney function and all those white blood cell, red blood cell counts and hematocrit and all that fun stuff. So we're curious to see the results. What'd she say, in 3 weeks, I think you said?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah. And what's cool about doing this now, and we'll be able to document for our viewing audience and listening audience, is you will see the changes as we go forward. And there is a phenomenon that I briefly told Chris about, that some people have more capacity to store fat. And it's kind of like an analogy that Dr. Peter Attia uses, like a bathtub. You know, if you have a big bathtub, which is your fat storage, your subcutaneous fat, the stuff that you can pinch and see, and that's mostly the stuff you want to get rid of. If you have a big bathtub, you can fill that up with a lot of subcutaneous fat before it starts overflowing. And the stuff that overflows and gets into your vents and drips into your wall, that's the visceral fat that causes all the problems. So the blood work is going to reveal, you know, where you are on that spectrum based on some of those numbers I just walked you through and the audience through. And you can have really good subcutaneous fat storage and be healthy on the inside, but eventually, you know, that luck is going to run out. And then on the flip side, there's people that can't store a lot of fat. They have a really small bathtub, and they could be 150 pounds and have more visceral fat than, you know, you or I, that weigh, you know, 200 pounds or more. So just important thing to understand. That's why I'm glad Chris is an excellent student, and, you know, not everybody follows recommendations, but I think it's going to be revealing, and we'll see in 3 weeks, and we'll talk to the audience about what we find out. So
I'm looking forward to all of the hormones and hormone stuff and seeing what comes of that. We'll do a talk when it gets revealed. Yeah. I'm interested to see what that's going to do, because I've always been super scared of testosterone and all the things. And so she talked to me a lot about that. I know you and I talked about it too. And about, like, she kept talking about visceral fat a lot. That was going to be actually one of my questions to you, is what's the difference in the fats? I don't know what visceral, but now I know. So
yeah, we'll dive into that question. Just to wrap up, one other takeaway, because we're trying to give lots of takeaways, is as males, particularly, your testosterone that your body's producing is typically inversely proportional or correlated to your subcutaneous fat, or your total amount of fat on your body. So it's kind of counterintuitive. You would think we would be designed that when we have more fat, we have more testosterone to help burn it off, but it's the opposite. So the good news with that is, as you lose weight, your normal testosterone production goes up. But by you doing this now we're going to not only have the evidence for you, but we'll also have evidence for other people and other doctors that, wow, this stuff really makes sense. So kudos to you for almost passing out, giving 14 bios, and hopefully you won't have to do that again. Usually that's the first one, once a year type, and then the rest are like 3 to 5 vials. So just to test some of the more frequent turnover stuff. So speaking of turnover, let's turn it over to you and the questions that popped in your head that other people listening, to make it relatable to them, that you experienced this week and you want to ask me, and I'll do my best to answer them. So we don't review these questions, so he could hit me with anything, and I just gotta figure it out. So
all right, so first one, I got 3 questions for you today, man.
Hey.
I got lots, but 3 today. So what is the deal? What is the big deal with Ozempic?
Ozempic. Okay.
Why is that the miracle drug for fat people? Because that's the first thing that she started talking to me about when I went to the doctor. And like, what's the deal with it? Is it necessary? Is it helpful? What does it do?
Well, if you can see my book cover over my right shoulder, but I think it's screen left, the magic pill. Everybody wants a magic pill to solve all their problems. So Ozempic and I don't ever remember that's the brand name. What's the other one? Something of Geron, but it's yeah, that one. But it's semaglutide and if you had said I'm blanking now, tirzepatide or I'm blanking on that one, it'll come to me. But there's two, and they were kind of studied as diabetes drug, and they saw that some of the people use them were losing weight, so they went through FDA approval to become weight loss drugs, and they will be able to be prescribed to people that are diagnosed with an obesity medical condition. Tirzepatide, semaglutide, tirzepatide. So those are the big two. Semaglutide started first, and then tirzepatide came later, and they both have shown in 20-plus week studies, 26, 28, that pretty significant weight loss. The only thing that is concerning, and hopefully your doctor's aware, or I'll make her aware because of her exercise recommendation, would be not conducive to this, is they all showed muscle loss. Is because you don't eat enough protein. So people that are on these products, A, they have to do strength training, and B, they have to have a protein forward nutrition plan, meaning they have to eat enough protein. And I had a client that did the tirzepatide recently because their doctor that was going to do her knee surgery said you got to lose some weight, and she wasn't that overweight, but she went on it, and we were documenting on the InBody, and as she was losing weight, she was losing muscle, and you saw how the InBody reveals that. So I said, I don't care if you're not hungry, you have got to get protein in. And I don't care if you drink it or eat it, you just got to do it like it's a job, it's a prescription. And so when she started doing that, her muscle mass stopped going down. So that's just a caution, because just like you discovered with weight loss surgery, and you know the stats better than me on that because I know you did a ton of research. But I know with those two drugs, the study groups, unfortunately, after they came off the drugs, like a lot of medical weight loss programs, unfortunately, they gained the weight back. So if it's not part of a lifestyle change, that's what I mean by a magic pill. You got to create the lifestyle, use it as a tool, which I support. But if you don't surround it with the lifestyle changes to set you up for long-term success, it's just going to be a temporary victory, and then you're going to be back to square one eventually.
It's a good help to get started, but just don't rely on it, what you're saying.
Well, you got to use it as a catalyst to create the motivation because you're losing weight, but also incorporate the lifestyle changes that you're doing that we talked about last week.
Okay. Something else we talked about that we're going to talk more about, I'm sure, is a continuous glucose monitor.
Yes.
Right. So what is that, and why is it important, and what does glucose or insulin do? Why is it even worth
okay. I'm curious. I'm wondering if that's something she would be willing to prescribe you, worth pursuing, or we can, for those watching, Levels Health, you can pay out of pocket to get a continuous glucose monitor. And essentially it's a little disc about this big, and it goes on your back of either arm. It kind of has a staple gun. It's got like a microscopic needle that goes into your bloodstream, into your fat in the back of your arm, and it monitors your blood glucose levels real time. And the doctor I mentioned before, he requires all of his patients to use it for 6 weeks because food recall studies and what you report to your friends and your doctor, like what'd you eat 4 weeks ago or 3 days ago? Food recall studies have all proven that we can't recall what we ate 10 minutes ago, much less 10 days ago. So the CGM, you can't fool. It's going to have that data constantly. And what it tracks is your blood sugar levels. And the higher your blood sugar, the more insulin your body or your pancreas has to produce insulin to force that blood sugar into your cells to bring it back down. There's a very narrow window, and it's like 5 to 7 deciliters, I think, of glucose that can be in the blood at any given time. Otherwise, if it's too high, you get ketoacidosis. Too low, you can go unconscious and go into coma and die. So what our lifestyle changes that I live this lifestyle and Chris is living the lifestyle now is by having real food, protein forward sequencing strategy that I teach my clients. You can have protein and vegetables and starches and even treats. If you do it in the right sequence, you can keep your blood sugar relatively normal. And I was part of the Levels Health beta trial, and I wore it cumulatively 8 months out of 14 months on and off. And my blood sugar average for the 8 months that I wore it was 92. So when I slept and I was fasting, it would be in the lower 80s, sometimes down to even 58 at night. And then post meal, when normally it would rise, it would go up to about 106. And that would be even having a treat using the strategies I'm teaching Chris. What we don't want is like those 130s, 140s, 150s, 190s. I heard a client tell me, type 1 diabetic, actually somebody Chris referred me, had a blood sugar as high as 400.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so those are, when it's that high, you're basically forcing your pancreas to produce so much insulin that eventually it wears out. And that's what eventually becomes type 2 diabetes. And the downstream effects of type 2 diabetes are heart attack, stroke, cancer, lots of bad things, Alzheimer's. So all the bad things. So one strategy of controlling your blood sugar on a pretty consistent basis is going to reap lots of benefits. So I hope that answers your question.
I see a lot of people wearing those things, man. A lot of people wearing them, and I don't know if they really are using them to their benefit or if they're not. I don't really understand how they're using it or not. So,
well, business, what gets measured gets managed.
It's improved,
or it gets improved. I believe, in my experience, because I had clients that have worn them, the people that have a success mindset will use the data to make decisions or change their decisions. The people that have a limited mindset or a victim mindset or rationalization, they're going to rationalize and say, that 170 spike, that's okay. I needed that donut for whatever reason. All right, I had to go out with my mom. We're going to rationalize versus somebody like Chris would be like, if y'all don't know Chris, he's very goal oriented. Like if he was wearing a CGM and I said, it better never go over 120, I guarantee you it would never go over 120. So that's where they can be a useful tool, like the InBody, like the heart rate monitoring system you're wearing. The cool part of technology today is you can use it for good. And, we can argue if social media and stuff is also causing lots of problems, but at least in that sense, technology can be a good thing.
What last question for today, Matt, I have is, I know you're a big proponent of the sauna, right?
Yeah.
So I think I die in that thing every time I'm in there, and I can't cool off for hours.
Tell them about Sunday all by yourself.
Oh yeah, it was cooking, baby. It was cooking Papa Bear Chris. I was getting cooked like a pig. And so what's the benefit of a sauna?
Yeah, the sauna, like a lot of these biohacking modalities are gaining lots of favor and popularity. And actually, one of my clients just opened up a center here locally that has infrared sauna, red light, cryotherapy, hyperbaric oxygen, pressurized Namatech boots, and those kind of things. Where the sauna is one of those things that's been around a long time, and they discovered that the cultures that use sauna as part of their culture, the Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, I believe, the Scandinavian countries, particularly Norway, I think is the most. But anyway, they studied it, and the people in that culture that did sauna 3 to 4 times a week versus the ones that didn't, it was like 5 to 7 years increased life expectancy on average. And the reason is it is cardiovascular. You get some vasodilation of your circulatory system like you're exercising. You get toxin removal. So when we sweat, our body has multiple ways. I call them the Asians, to get rid of toxins: perspiration, sweating; urination, peeing; defecation, pooing; respiration, breathing. Those are the primary ways the body can get rid of waste. And so the sauna just accelerates our body's ability to turn over metabolic waste and get rid of some of the bad stuff. So that's one of the big benefits.
Doing it every day and getting all that junk out of you every day allows for good stuff to get back in. Is that?
Well, you're depending on what you're putting in and what environment you're surrounding, like hopefully you're not in a toxic environment. I know you have some industrial type businesses, and I know you hopefully not handling cleaning chemicals, but some people are exposed to that kind of stuff more than others. I always get fascinated when I watch drag racing on TV and they got those nitro methane drags just going pop, 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 and the 6 guys of the crew are just sitting there sucking in those fumes 4 days a week, every single week.
I went one time, man, it burns your eyes so bad. I don't know how people do that crap.
Yeah. But so that's one of the primary benefits. But I think the reason I do it primarily is if you're able to tolerate, 20 to 30 minutes at 185 degrees plus, you get a growth hormone boost. And growth hormone's like a youth hormone. You may have seen the ads on TV.
Yes.
But it helps metabolize fat, repair muscle damage. So it's your body just producing it naturally. So it kind of tells your body, hey, pituitary gland, let's make some growth hormone. So that's one benefit that I do it for. You get a little bit of stem cell upregulation. Stem cells are cells that can heal and become anything. And so that it speeds the healing process. And then it can help with blood pressure, lowering our blood pressure if you're doing it consistently. I know after a good sauna session, my blood pressure drops 15 points. It's always the lowest after the days I do sauna.
Wow.
So that really works too. So hopefully that answers your question. I want to give you some props though. Sunday, when nobody was at the gym, Chris is in there. I think you had to walk around the building because they hadn't even opened yet.
Yep.
So nobody's in the gym. And most of the time the sauna's getting some in and out traffic. But we know like in an oven, when the oven door stays closed, it gets really hot really fast.
Yeah.
So you were probably in there at over 200 degrees. And you noticed because you couldn't stay in there as long, right?
No, not even close. Not even close. I tried to, man. I was like, I'm a man, Chris. You got this, bro. You can do this. Matt's not here to push you. You got it. And I was like, a little inner boy in me started crying. So,
yeah. Well, any other questions?
No, sir.
You got a hot date.
I got a wife looking at me saying it's time to go.
Yep. And you got to get your good looking man on, which you already look like you're there.
Ooh.
And turn your computer back to your beautiful wife. Thanks, Laura, for letting us use it.
Yes.
And those of you that are watching, if you're getting any benefit, let us know. If there's any topics you want to ask Chris, we're trying to be transparent through this process. That's why we don't talk about the questions he's going to ask and just be real. So hopefully y'all got some of the big takeaways from this. And if you did, let us know. And y'all keep encouraging Chris. He feels it. He tells me every week, like, how many people reach out to him, and it takes a village, baby, to keep that motivation. And I'm so proud of you. And we're going to have struggles along the way. And this week was a struggle, but we'll get through it. And hopefully you'll motivate others to do the same. So any last thoughts?
No, sir. No, sir. I'm just excited for the process. I'm just excited to keep going. I'm looking forward to the future, man. Hopefully we encourage somebody. Hopefully somebody steps out in faith. Something good comes from this. I mean, I'm trying to be very vulnerable in the process. I don't know about LinkedIn, Matt, but everything else is great.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I'll sign off with is, the whole other vision was like to create a FAT2Fit challenge, not like 75 hard, but like realistic for every other day people that have jobs and stuff. And kind of come up with whatever those parameters look like, and then challenge others to do it. Something that's realistic you can do on a daily basis, and y'all can check in with us as we go throughout, week to week. So that's coming. That's in the works, the FAT2Fit challenge, and y'all can do it with us as we journey over this next year. So Where are you going on your date?
We're going to a place I don't think I've ever been to before. We're going to that Harold Seltzer Steakhouse.
Okay. Yeah. That's an interesting business story. Ask them about it when you get there.
Okay.
Why it changed names from Sam Seltzers.
We've driven by there and seen the 3 cows outside for like probably 20 years. I've never been in there. I don't think I've ever been in there. So.
All right. Well, you can do some damage in there and you can do some good in there. Well, it's been fun, another week, and thank you for everybody that's watching. And you and Laura have an amazing date, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms and Laura and my wife, Holly, who I think is watching. Y'all have a great weekend. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Peace out.